The bulls are worried, the bears are smiling, and the Fed is a big joke. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard. It is Bubba's Bottom Line for Sunday, August the 4th. What's up, everybody? Hope you had a great weekend, man. It was a wild one, and the tweet storm got them, and a little bit of action, but here we are. But that's part of the markets. There was a lot going on, and of course the Fed did cut rates 25 basis points. Of course, the original expectations were to get to 25, but then all of a sudden, the street decided that they wanted 50. And so they were not happy with the cut. And of course, we had a fairly dramatic sell-off, and that kind of continued throughout the week. And we'll get more into the market when we get to the second half of the show and talk markets. But the Fed, I guess what you could almost say here is maybe they're underwriting the trade wars by they're continuing to cut rates. Okay. Now, again, there's a lot of reasons for the rate cut. I'm not a fan. I think it's the wrong thing to do. But I understand, when you have other countries and you have other central banks that are dramatically reducing their currency, okay, then you will see that for us to compete, we have to also lower. And again, I'm not a believer in that. I'm not a believer in the whole model of the phony fiat currency. I think that's a mistake. And really what they're really doing is issuing a secondary on your cash in your pocket. And of course, never a big fan of that. It's amazing how most of us who go back that far had lived a hell of a lot better on a hell of a lot less, not that long ago. So they continue to erode our currency. They can continue to erode everything while continuing to accumulate debt, and it not a pretty picture. Again, hopefully at some point there someone will address this. I mean, it will not be, and I'm sure it will not be in my lifetime. But before they steal all the money from everybody, okay, and it ends up on the hands. If you think it's bad now in the upper whatever you want 1 or 2%. Pretty soon it'll be the upper fraction of a percent that will have all the money. Okay, it's another way of robbing. It's the reverse Robin Hood. Okay, rob from the poor and the middle class and give it to the wealthy. So we'll see. We'll see what it brings out. But the Fed does appear to be making sure that they keep up with the trade war, which I think is another bogus, ridiculous story, because I don't know, again, I don't know, I'm not inside, I don't know all the details, okay, but from my views, and as we've talked about before, I see this as an excuse, for companies that may miss earnings next time. So while it was because of the trade war, it's always because of something. It's not because they didn't do the right job. It's not because maybe business is actually slowing, but it's because of, if you remember in the past, the strong dollar. So now it's because of the trade wars and the tax that the Americans are going to pay on the goods that are coming over. So, again, to me, I look at it that these companies like a Walmart or any of them can now raise their prices if they choose to do so. And of course, I don't know what the real effect on them is going to be, because, one thing we do know, tariff or no tariff, someone's going to account for it. And you might think that China will account for it, which they've done quite a bit by reducing their currency so dramatically. So they might be accounting for the tariffs, but yet somehow prices will be raised and we'll end up paying more and the profits will be higher. But of course, we won't figure it out until a quarter or two later when they start showing record profits. This is no different than the oil companies from way back in the 70s and 80s when we had some of the first squeezes. And it's no different than that wonderful company of Starbucks that forced themselves to raise prices when coffee was going through the moon, and now that coffee is at 50-year lows, okay, their prices never came down. So really all that happens is it's good for the bottom line of their corporation. And that's really what I see here is the same deal of an ability for the companies to raise their prices because the prices are never coming down. And again, I'm not so convinced that the trade wars are that big of a deal anyways. I mean, the small fraction in the big picture is no big deal, number one. Number two, again, somebody will account for it. So again, to me, it's a bunch of blowhards, and this is really about the politicians and the lobbyists, okay, that get to grab some of that dough for making some of these bad deals. Again, that's an opinion that obviously is not fact, but that would be my opinion. And I think that when you're looking at the big picture, I think that will be proven to be correct, okay, that it is no big deal. Now, again, they continue to go back to the farmers and their the lack of China buying grains. Well, China has always bought from everybody, okay? Obviously, we're predominantly the main supplier, but what we keep forgetting is how much supply we have in this country and how good the crops have been basically worldwide. So you have a dramatic amount of supply. So again, if you just look at the simple supply demand curve, it's not like, well, there's a demand here. So whether trade war or no trade war, there is not this huge overwhelming demand. Now, again, this year you might see some stuff because, again, I think the USDA is way off on their estimates. I think from what I'm hearing, there's a lot more problems out there, and we could end up with a shortage versus the dramatic oversupply we've had for the last few years. We will see. But again, I will stand my ground. In my opinion, it's the lobbyists and the politicians that are making the big thing about the trade wars, because many of them miss out on their extra opportunity to make a bad deal so they can pick up a few extra shekels. We'll see. But so the Fed does cut, and of course, right now the markets are pricing in another at least 2 more rate cuts. Again, so when we're going to really need these cuts, will we have the ammo to go get it? And I think this is another issue that is really ridiculous. And again, this goes back to in my opinion, the ignorance of the Keynesian policy of trying to avoid recessions instead of letting them just play out. This is another issue that, of course, again, if it was up to me, okay, I would have let the banks in 2008 that did not have the money, I'd have let them go broke and taking all that money the Fed decided to print and paid back the depositors who had their money in those banks and screw the rest. Okay, why do I want to continue to support a business, make bankers wealthy, and when they're making the exact wrong decision? Okay, and they're giving out more money, and why? Well, I would listen. If it was up to me, I would do the same thing. If I had the ability to lend out 10 times what I was holding, okay, so if I'm holding $1, I can lend out 10, and I'm getting paid interest at no matter what rate I'm getting that interest, but from 10 different people on that one single dollar I have in my vault supposedly, okay. Well, what's the big deal? So if each person is paying me X amount of interest, and if they start to maybe default, I can lower their payments and they'll still have them pay me. So I still have the revenue stream flowing in. However, again, I'm printing money. And I think that's the thing that nobody really realizes is the whole system is around to create more money into the system. Okay. And again, they figure it out. If we fail, okay, then we'll just wait for the Fed to bail us out again. Okay. So, we can listen to all these stories of why things are going wrong, but yet here we are. Okay. In the same thing with what we continue to hear of a lack of inflation, because of course we don't count the goods and services that cost us so much. But if you think the stock market is in the bubble, what about the bond market? Okay, you know, I mean, are you kidding me? You know, you have the Austrian bond, okay, 100-year bond that it was around 2.2% for 100 years. Okay, it's now trading at about 1.5%. Okay, so put your money up for 100 years for 1.5%. You know, again, you're seeing Greek bonds that you all know what happened in Greece a few years ago. Do you think it magically changed? So the chase for bonds, the chase for yield everywhere is becoming rampant. And of course, we know when that happens, it can only lead to bad news. It can only lead to a system that's going to be messed up. All right, you know, you're going to see. Look, let's be clear. There is no doubt that some point, and again, we're not going to time it, but there's going to be a major meltdown again. But you're seeing the reasons now why that's going to happen, because people don't care. You know, when you decide that time and price are immaterial, okay, and it doesn't matter, you just got to get it, that is very close to the end of the cycle. It is no different than Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, and AIG in 2008, when they were well over leveraged, and AIG was selling insurance basically for nothing. Because how could it be possible that mortgages could fail? It's impossible. It can't happen. But if you remember one thing about markets, and we do talk about this, the improbable happens about once a week and the impossible happens once a month. But of course, these guys didn't care. They continued to sell, and over leverage. And of course, that's what you're seeing now in a lot of especially in the junk bond markets. Junk bonds that should be getting 6, 7, 8% are getting 2, 3, 4%. Again, the logistics, the logic behind any of it is totally ridiculous. And of course, you know, can we imagine that we wasted $32 million on the Mueller investigation? Is that not one of the biggest wastes of money ever for any reason? Okay. And yet you've got some of the politicians out there, not President Trump, but others out there walking around that should have been locked up years ago, including one of the last candidates that ran in 2016. But it doesn't matter because we don't care. It is an amazing sight and an amazing thing. In the meantime, this is Bubba's Bottom Line. I am Todd Bubba Horwitz. We're going to step out here for a break, and we'll be back with more Bubba's Bottom Line after the break. What's up, everybody? Well, equity portfolios had a rough week this week, but still performing well overall. And of course, if you'd like to see those webinars, you know, I've got them recorded for you. You can check them out. All you gotta do is email me at bubba@bubbatrading.com. Be happy to send you to take a look at it. And of course, don't forget about our high school program at Patreon, patreon.com/Bubba Trading. That's patreon.com/Bubba Trading. We'll be back. Let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line right now. Welcome back to Bubba's Bottom Line. Todd Bubba Horwitz with you. And of course, it is Sunday, August the 4th. So last week, what a week, eh? All of a sudden, the bulls are a little bit nervous and the bears are getting a little bit excited. Now, as typically happens, we don't know if this is the final bell or the final whistle. We're going to start going down. I can tell you that in the equity markets, we have reversed. We are now short. We were long for a long time. Okay, we have reversed. Okay, and we're now short. We actually reversed Friday morning into the opening. Okay, and so now, you know, we will be playing the market to the short side. So until this changes, we will now be looking, not only are we carrying a core short position, but we will look to sell rallies as they appear. You know, and again, rallies, when I say sell rallies, it means look to sell rallies at a level of resistance, not just to sell when they go up 2 points, right? But again, we are short across the board, and they look pretty bad. Now, again, honestly, if I were to guess, and I saw the way they closed on Friday, I mean, they looked like they kind of closed almost at support. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of rally in the next couple of days. But I do think the overnight opening tomorrow, or tonight's opening or tomorrow morning, is a big number. It's a big opening. I would say this, a general rule. Now, again, I'm not telling you to make this trade, but a general rule of thumb, the way I would look at it myself, if we get a big spike rally like tonight at the open at 6 o'clock Eastern time, when the market's actually open for the week, if it's a big spike higher, I'd more than likely be looking to sell it. Okay, because to me, that would be just some people, the weekend, they survived the weekend, there was no major catastrophes, and then, of course, they'll then sell off again and revert back. But again, the action, if you're bullish, the action you'd like to see them continue to flush them, okay, and then look for a spring back rally. So again, that's the way that I would kind of observe this market here, but we will be looking to sell rallies until things change. The oil markets, we've now short oil, which you knew I hated it. I hated every minute of that trade I was in it. And finally, I got the signal to short it. And of course, it wasn't that bad of a short because we sold it into a rally. But after it had closed, it showed that signal. So, we're going to be short oil. And again, I think that oil is only at these levels because of some geopolitical stuff. Now, again, why we're concerned about geopolitical stuff is a story for another day because it doesn't make sense. We produce our own oil. Why are we caring what happens other places? But again, you never know what Wall Street's going to care about. So that's what I see. But again, I think oil is going to be, which I've always said and maintained, even when we were long oil, I maintained that I thought it was going to go back into the 40s. And that's what I'm still saying. Okay. Gold, it's just amazing. Okay. Sparked up and it looked bad and everybody yelled at me, how could you write that in Kitco? What are you nuts? And of course, bang, before you knew it, the gold had a $50 reversal, okay? And it was back making new 7-year highs now. So again, we think gold is going to probably test that 1,500 level, okay? Again, I think gold is going much higher, but I only quote out one level at a time. I'm not interested in trying to make the big grand call. I don't want to be, I made this dramatic call, gold's going to whatever, anything. I see the next level I can see is 1,500. We get through there, we'll give you another level to watch and track. But again, gold looks great. Silver, not quite as good, but I think silver looks really good too. That would be my for my ownership for buying like stored value or buying physical. Right now, my preference would be buying silver, but I buy both. So I like them both, but silver's been kind of weak and needs to do a little bit of catching up. And of course, bonds, we talked about this in the first half. They're ridiculous. They just keep going up. Again, just keep dropping those yields, keep putting that money and chase it. They are in a big bubble, as is the markets are in a bubble. But again, we're long. We're now long. Again, I'm not a big fan, but I am. Okay. Again, one thing I tell you this in all straight up honesty, sincerity, the algorithm trading that I do, okay, the mechanical trading that I do not fade or not take the signal. My opinion never goes in to the algorithm. It's a sell, I sell it. There's not even a thought. In fact, I keep all those trades in a separate account so that I don't have to, look at it and be aggravated when I have an opinion and my opinion's right. But again, the algorithms work unbelievable. So I'm not going to ever fade or go against what they say. Okay. Doesn't mean during the day I won't trade, it doesn't mean I won't be short bonds on a day trade throughout, although I'm long them here. But overall, okay, trading is one thing, and these long-term algorithms, these trend plays are another. So again, just so you know, I do not ever, no matter what my opinion is, fade or go against what I'm supposed to be in the long term. In the meantime, grains had a rough week. I don't know what to say. It's I'm still pretty bullish. We're short now, but across the board, grains, we sold soybeans on Friday, corn on Thursday. Again, I think they're going a lot higher, but certainly based on the algorithms and based on the damage, we look like there's some room to go to the downside. So again, from my personal belief, okay, I would be long, but because of the algorithms, I'm short right now. And again, if I'm wrong and then I get stopped out on the upside, if I have to buy, it's fine. I don't mind buying, but again, I think there's probably maybe a little bit more room on the downside before we start to see another rally. But I think that again, this would be a position if I wasn't using my algorithms that I'd be willing to buy and accumulate over time, even if they kept going lower. But it does look bad for the moment. So again, we're going to have to I'm going to follow the algorithm and I'm going to let it trade. And I know we have a USDA report coming this week. You know, they're like the Fed. Okay, they're as worthless as those things on a bull, right? I mean, it's not even worth talking about because that's their information is wrong 99% of the time. In the meantime, meats, hogs, as we told you last week when we shorted them, whew, man, you know, I thought they'd get at least one little bounce to give us another shot to sell a little bit more. They came down like the world was coming in, which only tells you a couple of things. The big deal they keep making about the swine flu is not that big a deal, number one. Number two, I think the action you saw at the end of the week, now again, the algorithm's short, but the action you saw at the end of last week might indicate a little bit of a blow-off to the downside. I would expect to see a rally and get better opportunities to sell some hogs this week. Cattle looks great. Okay, again, continues to hold levels that it's supposed to. Okay, if you came into Friday, you saw that fat cattle or live cattle had come all the way down to support and then rallied nicely Friday. Feeders struggle a bit, but they were right up against they were on top of the upper end. Both look great. We look for significantly higher prices there. Again, I think that you're going to see a pretty good solid rally coming there. And of course, the dollar, again, this is the whole objective of this exercise from the Fed is to bring the value of the dollar down. Yet the dollar made, multi-year highs because they can't do it. And that's the real case here is the Fed cannot manipulate as much as they would like to. And this is where you see the problems that they're creating, okay, is just kind of ridiculous. But again, this is what they do. And you want to be in a Keynesian way where the markets don't determine and we actually have a body returning because you've got, Rosencrantz. I mean, I don't like any of them. Okay, look, they're very smart people, I'm sure. Okay, from a book standpoint. But from common sense, I mean, and to me, it's almost like they have dissenters just to kind of keep a lid on it. It's like they have a plan. It reminds me of the old days when, when they would have the debt ceiling problems and they'd go into that dark room with a minute to go and they'd come out with, oh, we saved you. It seems to me like there's always some, I'm always a conspiracy theorist. I always see something wrong with the way they do things. So whether he's a true dissenter or a phony dissenter, I think it's kind of like, well, we got to have a couple of dissenters, okay, just so it looks good. Just like they used to have that Lael, I forget her last name, but Lael, she's one of the Fed who was always bullish that we're going to cut rates for blah, blah, blah. So it was they always have somebody on the other side of the market. Now, are they truly on the other side of the market? I don't really know. Okay, again, these are just opinions and observations by me. And of course, Bitcoin, hey, back over 10,000 as we suspected it would be. Again, I believe that Bitcoin is going to be real. I believe that, it may not be Bitcoin, but I believe that this is the new space. And I think the more the Fed fiddle farts around with markets, the more you'll see action that wants to go there. That is not what the Libra coin from Facebook is going to be. That's going to be more of a government control or whatever. But I think that looks like, that is the direction to continue that we're going to go. And, I wouldn't worry about the trade wars. I think that's a crock. I think a lot of these crises are created by noise. And I think that's really what you see. And I think, again, you continue to, when you look at markets and you want to trade markets, price tells you everything you need to know. The news is worthless. Price tells you everything. Okay. So screw the news, watch the price, take care of yourself. We're going to step out here for a break. We'll be back with my commentary right after the break with more from Bubba's Bottom Line. Well, hey, as I always tell you, and I always want to remind you, in markets when you're trading, there's always losses that come into play. There is no method or system that continues to win every day or every week. Our algorithms are unbelievable. However, we had a bad week last week, and of course, we don't hide from it. We come up and tell you right out, okay? Because again, understanding how the markets work and understanding how it works in general will help save you, whether or not you're one of ours or not. At least I want to help you understand that markets do have rough periods, and no matter what you're doing, at some point there are some losses, but at least understand how to deal with them and move forward. In the meantime, don't forget about our high school program at Patreon, Patreon.com Bubba Trading. That's patreon.com/Bubba Trading. Let's get back to Bubba's Bottom Line and my commentary. Welcome back to Bubba's Bottom Line and my commentary. And well. Can we talk about Elijah Cummings? Can we talk about how come that President Trump is always the racist in this deal, when Bernie Sanders basically said the same thing about Baltimore? But forget about what either of those says. Baltimore is a dump, okay, in most parts of the city, okay? It is loaded with a lot of bad things. And of course, you can look at any big city, okay, especially ones run by the Democrats, okay? And again, this is not an issue, but if you look at the 4 highest tax states, okay, Chicago or Illinois, New York, California, Connecticut, Baltimore, okay, all high taxes, all garbage, dirt, filth. You pay high taxes for nothing. But fortunately, they all get to be sanctuary cities, and they all get to be, the mayors and the governors and all. They all get to get rich, which is why the mayors and governors go in jail from Chicago. But in the meantime, okay, they are rat-infested dumps, okay, including San Francisco, Nancy Pelosi's district. We hear them rail on how things should be, okay, but yet they don't care. Okay, because again, this is not a left or right issue. In my opinion, it's time to start cutting loose these politicians. It's time to start having term limits on both sides of the aisle, right? I don't think that anybody should be able to serve more than 4 to 6 years. I think they have totally destroyed this country, okay? And I think that these extended terms are ridiculous. I really believe that every office should be one term, okay? You can make it whatever you want, 1-6, 1-8, 1-4, whatever it happens to be, okay, and out, so that you can get away from all the special interest and all the stealing and everything else that goes on. Because in the meantime, all you end up with is places like Baltimore, which is a dump, places like Chicago, which is the murder capital of the world, places like San Francisco, which is the big toilet. Everywhere except for the places that are supposed to be beautiful, they're beautiful, but most of it is a big toilet. Okay, and again, I go through them all if you want. But why is it that they call Trump a racist and Bernie Sanders not? Okay, why is Trump always the racist? Okay, and nobody else ever is, although they say the exact same words. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But of course, it is what it is. But we'll see when we get the next shot. And of course, there'll always be something, because what do we know for sure? The major networks on the left will continue to pound and pound away, because what they know is they don't want to do anything except waste a lot of money on nothing instead of helping the American people. That'll do it for today's Bubba's Bottom Line. Everybody have a great weekend. Always great to be here with you. I appreciate you. We'll see you back here on Monday, tomorrow, with Bubba's Daily Update. And of course, next week with Bubba's Bottom Line. Have a great weekend, everybody. I thank you, and we will see you next week.